Good morning, learners. How are you? I hope you are fine. Today we are going to talk about chapter number 7. Where do you work? أين تعمل? The last chapter, where do you do? ماذا تعمل? Now, where do you work? أين تعمل? So this is the program as we've done before. First, review 2 jobs. 2 workplaces. أماكن العمل. 3 prepositions of locations. حروف الجر تفيد الوجهات أو المواقع. For workplaces the I use the article the يقل التعريف. 5 frequency adverbs and 6 simple present tense and pronunciation. 7 review, and the last one, practice in English in your daily lives. So on job review, so try to listen and repeat. A nurse, an architect, a bank manager, a manager, website designer, a teacher, a student, a doctor, waiter, a taxi driver, salesperson, a homemaker. They are familiar. هذولي common يعني مستعملين بزاف. A nurse اللي هو ممرضة. An architect مهندس معماري. A bank manager مدير بنك. A manager مدير شركة أو أي شيء. A website designer مصمم حاسوب. A teacher معلم. Student طالب. A doctor طبيب. A waiter نادل. A taxi driver سائق أجرة. salesperson بائع. A homemaker ماكثة في البيت. So we move to workplaces. أماكن العمل. The question they ask, where do they work? أين يعملون? Where أين do they work? Work اللي هو يعمل. For example, I gave an example. My sister is a nurse. She works in a hospital. أختي ممرضة تعمل في المستشفى. My brother is an architect. He works in an office. أخي مهندس معماري يعمل في المكتب. My son is a website designer. He works at a restaurant. ابني مصمم حاسوب يعمل في المطعم. I am a teacher. I work at school. I am a teacher. أنا معلم أعمل في المدرسة. So what this is, I used 2 prepositions of locations. We have 2. We have in and we have at. So look here, at a restaurant or at school and in a hospital, in an office. So we have the يعني أغلبية الكلمات أغلبية أماكن العمل نستعملوا in, but with some exceptions at نستعملوا أغلبية with at school or in school نقول at school. At restaurant when it is special, but I said at school. نقدر نقول in a restaurant. It's correct. يعني صح. But at school I can't say in a school. I said at school. So this is workplaces and the prepositions of location. We have here some examples of workplaces. So look and say what is it. The first one is a bank. هو مصرف. 2 a restaurant. مطعم. 3 an office. مكتب. 4 a school. مدرسة. And 5 a hospital. مستشفى. A store هي محل ملابس. A hotel فندق. A factory مصنع. هو مصنع. So in order to use these workplaces you have to answer these questions. يعني بنستعملوا هذوك أماكن العمل لازم نجاوب على الأسئلة هذه. Where does a teacher work? For example, نعنى أين يعمل الأستاذ? I said a teacher works at school. المعلم يعمل في المدرسة. So we have some examples. We try to ask and answer. The first one, where does an architect work? He works in an office. 2, where does a waiter work? He works in a restaurant. 3, where does web designer work? He works in an office. 4, where does a sales assistant work? He works in a store. 5, where does a taxi driver work? He works in a taxi. 6. Where does an artist work? He works in a studio. 7. Where does a singer work? He works in a theater, a bar or a studio. Singer هو مغني, artist وفنان. 8. Where does a writer work? He works in an office and a writer كاتب. 9. Where does a businesswoman work? She works in an office. businesswoman هي سيدة أعمال. And 10. Where does a veterinarian work? He works in a clinic. clinic اللي هي عيادة. So what do you remark? أغلبية المهن تعمل في المكتب in an office. Like here we have an architect, we have a web designer, we have a writer, and we have a businesswoman, and etc. So and the maximum of the workplaces use N. Look here, we have N, and etc. Exception, we have at school, as we've done before. In this case I can say tell me about, أخبرني عن police officer اللي هو مفتش شرطة, a cameraman اللي هو مصور, and an accountant اللي هو المحاسب. So I can describe it. Well, who is a police officer? A police officer is a person who protects people and he works in an office or in streets. نعم نوش مدينا كيما what do you do in the chapter ماذا يعمل exactly. هنا he protects people, يحمي الشعب, and يعمل in an office, يعمل في المكتب أو في الطرقات. So I use exact verb plus the workplaces. يعني exactly وش يخدم plus مكان العمل. A cameraman, he makes films or TV programs and he works in a studio. He makes films. The verb is makes film. يصنع أفلام أو برامج تلفزيون and works in a studio. يعمل في. An accountant, he manages money. يعني يتصرف أو في الأموال, and he works in an office. ويعمل في المكتب. For more details, here the example or the question is describe more. You can choose any of the last jobs, for example a teacher or a dentist or a doctor, and say what does he do and where does he work. ماذا يعمل وماذا أين يعمل. So and I wait your answers in your comments. Look at preposition of location. هي حروف الجر تفيد المكان. At is a preposition used with home, work and school. قالك at نستعملها مع home اللي هو المنزل, work اللي هو العمل, school اللي هو المدرسة. Example, where does she work? She works at home. I can say in home. تصلحش نصلحه at home. Where is she? She is at home. Look at pupil 1. Where does your mother work? She works at home. Where is she? She is at home. Is she a homemaker? Yes, she is. هل هي ربة بيت؟ يا نعم هي. Pupil 2. Where does your mother work? She works at school. I'm sorry, this is a mistake. We have not got in school, but we have at school. Not in school, but at school. She works at school. Where is she? She's at school. Is she a teacher? Yes, she is. Pupil 3. Are you at work now? No, I am not. Where are you then? I am at school. So try to remember the rule. With at, I use with home. At is used with home, work and school. Now look and listen. Look and listen. My mother works at home. I work in an office. Waiter works in a restaurant. A teacher works at school. We are at work. Read and repeat. Is your sister at school? No, she isn't. She's at work. She is a waitress. She works in a restaurant. My father works in an office. We are at home. In order to practice in and at. In and at. So workplaces, I use the article, the هو التعريف. We use the definite article. احنا من قبل قرينا A and N. They are indefinite article, يعني غير معرف. شو الفرق بينهم غير معرف? For example, I said I am a teacher. أنا أستاذ in general. But I am the teacher of English. أنا أستاذ اللغة الإنجليزية, لست أي أستاذ. So this is definite and indefinite. So we use the definite article though when there is one or we know it before. It is specific. For example, say I see a teacher. رأيت أستاذ general. But the teacher in the classroom. يعني الأستاذ الذي يوجد في القسم، ليس أي أستاذ. I see the moon. Look, we have some exceptions. For example, we said the moon. The moon هو القمر معرف. يعني عندنا one moon. نقول لك the sun الشمس. عندنا one sun. نقول لك the ocean محيط. عندنا one ocean. نقول لك the sea one البحر. يعني بحر واحد. يعني some nouns are definite. يعني هم أصلا في البديهة معرفين. لازم نستعملوا the. But when I talk about nouns يعني أسماء واحدة أخرى مغايرة كما نقولوا a teacher for example أعمال أشخاص أشياء. For example I have to define them. لازم نعرفهم أكثر. For example he said I buy a car. اشتريت سيارة. أي سيارة. I buy the black car. السيارة السوداء ليست أي سيارة. Clear? So let's practice. People 1, I said, where do you work? So I work in an office. Where is the office? I talk about the office that you work. 2, where do you work? In a hospital. Where is the hospital? In Buga. Clear? So I ask about the hospital that you work يعني المستشفى التي تعمل فيها. I use the definite article the. So let's practice. Put a or the to the following. My brother is waiter. She works in restaurant. 2, restaurant is in shopping mall. 3, shopping mall is on Big Street. And 4, Big Street's name is Main Street. Try to put a or the to the following. Then I shall return with the answer. So I returned with the answer. I said my brother is waiter. He works in a restaurant. أخي نادل يعمل في المطعم. The restaurant that I talk about is in a shopping mall. هذا المطعم اللي نهضر عليه is in a shopping mall. أي shopping mall. The shopping mall اللي نهضر عليه is on a big street. And the street اللي نهضر عليه is main street. عندنا قاعدة قارة في اللغة الإنجليزية. الإنجليزية هي ما تعني. English is what you mean. كتب تعني شيء خاص معرف نستعمل ذا. كتب تعني شيء عام in general تستعمل له a or an. So frequency adverbs. Talking about frequency adverbs means talking about verbs. Frequency adverbs give information about verbs in the simple present tense. ليه نستعمل frequency adverbs؟ يعني يمكن نتحدث على frequency adverbs يعني راح نتحدث على الأفعال. لا، لأنه frequency adverb راح يمدنا معلومات أكثر عن الأفعال في الحاضر في simple present tense. هنا عندنا some examples familiar. عندنا always دائما نعمل الشيء اللي قلت لك الأفعال verbs. أعمل شيء 100%. usually 90% 90%. often 80%. sometimes 50%. rarely and seldom 10% and never 0%. هنا نقرب بك المعنى. باللغة العربية قدروا نقولوا always دائما. usually غالبا. often عموما. sometimes أحيانا. rarely or seldom نادرا. and never أبدا. So for example with most verbs they go before the verb. دايما عندنا هنا always دايما هي اللي تسبق هي اللي تغلب. I said I always speak English. He never goes to the cinema. We often work in an office. دايما عندنا adverb frequency بعد يجيني الفعل في simple present tense. احنا درنا مقبل simple present tense. Sometimes and usually can go at the beginning of a sentence. يعني نقدر sometimes usually نقدر نستعملهم في بداية الجملة ويكون ثاني في وسط الجملة. نقدر نقولوا sometimes I go to the library or case then I sometimes go to the library. نقولوا usually he works in a store. نقدر نقولوا he usually works in store. But with the verb to be دايما verb to be هو الغالب هو السيد. دايما عندنا نبدأ بالverb to be plus adverb of frequency. For example she is always beautiful. They are usually polite. Usually she is nice. So the verb to be دايما عندنا اللي هو الغالب في الأفعال. هنا الفرق بينه وبين الأفعال العادية. بين الأفعال العادية يكون adverb of frequency بصح كي يعود verb to be يكون verb to be then adverb of frequency. So in order to answer using the adverb of frequency you should ask this. هنا عندنا كي نسطر لك على adverb of frequency اللي هي usually often. شو السؤال اللي راح نسأل؟ عندنا السؤال اللي راح يسأل عندنا how often. how often هنا كي نديرها بالترجمة باللغة العربية كل كم مرة. how often do you work? I always work. How often are you shy? I am usually shy. So I use the verb how often, the question, WH question, how often, with adverb of frequency. يعني كي نسطر لك على adverb of frequency use how often. ما نستعملش when ولا what time. عندنا عدة أنواع من الأسئلة حول الوقت. مثلا هذا نوع من الوقت نستعمله بس مع adverb of frequency نستعمله how often. Look, practice. People want to say how often do you work? I always work. 2. How often are you busy? I am usually busy. 2. How often do you study English? I often study. How often are you here? I am usually here. People 3 said, how often do you eat sushi? I never eat sushi. You can use often, usually, always, as you want. Try to practice on your own and use how often and I wait your answers. ننتظر في الأجوبة تاعكم بنصحكم الأخطاء in your comments في التعليقات تاعكم. So we move to pronunciation. We have the pronunciation O, O, A, and A. O, A, and A. I listen and I repeat. A, pot, odd, on, done, sol, log, rock, ox, follow. The sound A, pat, add, and, an, dan, sell, lag, rack, X, follow. And the sound A, pet, add, band, an, den, sell, lag, rack, X, follow. So each sound, when I change the letter, I change the sound, I change the meaning. Try to practice. Repeat after me in order to get the pronunciation of O, A, and A. Now listen and write these words. Word number 1, a restaurant, a restaurant. Word number 2, an office, an office. Word number 3, a hospital, a hospital. Word number 4, a school, a school. Word number 5, a home, a home. I listen and I write these sentences. Sentence 1, my mother works at home. My mother works at home. 2, her aunt usually goes to work in a factory. Her aunt usually goes to work in a factory. 3, a waiter is usually polite. A waiter is usually polite. 4, a teacher always teaches in school. A teacher always teaches in school. And 5, Tom's aunt never goes to a restaurant. 5, Tom's aunt never goes to a restaurant. Now we come to the part of read and answer. Read after me, then answer the questions. And I shall give you the answers by the end of these questions. So follow me. Tom is an accountant. He is a manager too. He usually works in an office. The office is on a big street in a big city. Tom's married. His wife's name is Jane. She's a teacher. They have 2 children. Their son is 1 year old and their daughter is 10. Jane's mother lives in their house. She usually takes care of the children. She teaches them too. She loves them a lot. They love their mother and father too. This is a happy family. Question number 1. Where does Tom do? What does Tom do? ماذا يعمل? 2. Where does he work? أين يعمل? 3. Is he divorced? هل هو مطلق? 4. What is his wife's name? ما اسم زوجته? 5. What does she do? ماذا تعمل? 6. How many children do they have? كم عدد أولاد يملكون؟ 7. How old are they? كم عمرهم؟ 8. Who takes care of the children? من يهتم بالأطفال؟ 9. Does she teach them? هل تعلمهم؟ 10. Do the children love the grandmother? هل الأطفال يحبون جدته؟ So take a minute, try to answer the questions and I shall return with the answer. So this is the answer. 1. He is a manager and an accountant. 2. He works in an office. 3. No, he isn't. He's married. 4. Her name is Jane. 5. She's a teacher. 6. They have 2 children. 7. They are 1 and 10 years old. 8. Their grandmother takes care of the children. 9. Yes, she does. And 10. Yes, they do. So this is the end of the video. I hope you like the video. Share your comment. I wait your answers and your comments. See you for practicing English in your daily life. The last part of this chapter number 7. Goodbye for today. See you for next lesson.